Hey, I'm Uncle Steph. So, for a few years now, I have been talking about how university degrees, college degrees, were losing their value very quickly. And I think this has only accelerated in the last few years. Essentially, a question I kept answering was, do you need a degree to get a job as a developer? The short answer is no. And this is only accelerating. So here's everybody's favorite nerd, Mark Zuckerberg. Let me just jump into it. Want to get a job at Meta? It doesn't matter what you study as long as you can, quote, do one thing really well, Mark Zuckerberg says. So let me jump into it. Meta CEO Zuckerberg joins a growing number of executives suggesting that a specific field of study is less critical for employment in today's competitive job market. What matters most, he says, is being able to do one thing really well. When asked by Bloomberg's Emily Chang, what should kids be studying these days, Zuckerberg emphasized the importance of critical thinking and learning values. That's why, by the way, that's why in my mentoring program, a huge part of it, even though the foundation is coding, a huge part of it has to do with soft skills, understanding your lizard brain, learning to manage people and projects. Much more important than the actual technical skills. Technical skills come and go in terms of what is in vogue, but really matters, though, is all those other things. Anyway, rather than pinpointing a particular subject for aspiring Gen Z professionals, the billionaire Harvard dropout stressed. See, that's an interesting thing. Billionaires and dropouts, very common. You got Zuckerberg, you got Steve Jobs, you got Bill Gates, and there are others. Harvard dropout stressed that mastering a skill outweighs having a business or economics degree. As such, tenacity can be applied across various business areas. Zuckerberg explained that his hiring philosophy by pointing out his daughter, who is 40 page deep into writing a novel about mermaid crystals. Okay, whatever that is. Anyway, let's just read the quote. If people have shown that they can go deep and do one thing really well, then they've probably gained experience in the art of learning something and taking it to an excellent level, which is generally pretty applicable to other things, he concluded. So, that's something I've been talking about for a long time. Concentrate on your fundamentals, get really good at it. This is in terms of coding, but it applies to everything. And that's the key to the whole game. Top grades don't guarantee you're a top worker. It is not the first time that the Meta mastermind has insisted that raw talent and personality trump credentials. Again, something I talked about for a long time now. Credentials, especially in the coding market, credentials are worth this much. Real-world demonstrable skills are worth much more. That's why for the mentees in my mentoring program, we get them through the fundamentals of coding, web stack, as quickly as possible, and then we get them into building things right away. Build. That's how you gain real skill. So when you come into the market with a whole bunch of things you've done for the coffee shop here, or the bakery here, or the auto repair shop here, or for some startup here, you come to the market with all that experience, you're worth much more than anybody with a degree, that's for sure. Zuckerberg was well ahead of today's skill-first hiring revolution. Even back in 2015, the tech genius was insisting that he would only hire people who work directly for me if I would work for that person, and that his team looks for people whose values align with the company's. So it's basically he's looking for very competent people, and he's looking for people who have good interpersonal skills, who get along with others. One of my mentors told me a long time ago, says, I'd rather hire somebody who's pretty good at what they do, but are easy to get along with, than the hotshot who's an asshole. Now, as businesses increasingly drop degree requirements from their hiring process, Zuckerberg's hiring philosophy is more common. Google, Microsoft, IBM, Apple have all eliminated their long-held degree requirements. Let me just highlight this for you guys. to remove barriers to entry and recruit more diverse talent. Meanwhile, recruiters globally are 5 times more likely to search for new hires by skills over education. Let me highlight this. So anybody who's been following my content for years now, you knew this in advance. I've been telling you this for years. You know why I knew about this? I don't have a crystal ball at home. I don't consult the gods. No, it's just I've been in business for 30 years. I've been a developer for 30 years. I've hired lots of people, fired some people. I understand the game. I understand what we're looking for. When the rubber meets the road, experience trumps credentials all the time. And because software is so competitive and so fast-moving and so obvious about who's competent or not, the whole credentialing, degree-based world or paradigm is falling away. That's why I say, people ask me, should I go to university to learn how to code? I say, if you're going to get into debt, no. If you're older, probably not. You want to get into the game, learn the fundamentals, just jump in, start mixing it up, start doing real things. Business too. Like I've been in business my whole adult life. Last time I had a job working for somebody, I was 19 years old as a bouncer in a nightclub. And I only did the bouncing job to support myself while I was getting my first business up and running. I bootstrap everything that I do. Anyhow, the point being is that you want to learn business, get into business. Get into business. You want to know how to code, start coding. Don't get caught up in tutorial hell. Don't worry about credentials. Like I do offer in my mentoring program and other programs that I provide to schools, colleges and middle schools and high schools. I do provide credentialing. I do provide a pretty robust certification process for 5 languages: Python, JavaScript, PHP, HTML, and CSS. And I did it because the schools were asking for this. Some people still value this. It's a good way to start padding the resume a little bit, start adding to the resume, but it's not the key. The key, again, is being able to show real-world experience. And as is pointed out in this article, it just came out today. This is July 26, 2024. Google, Microsoft, IBM, Apple have all eliminated their long-held degree requirements. Who's been telling you this for years? JP Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon. If you don't know JP Morgan, biggest bank in the world, at least in the US, I believe, recently revealed that the Wall Street giant has hired 4,000 or 5,000 ex-felons because talent doesn't just come out of colleges. I don't think necessarily because you go to an Ivy League school or have great grades, it means you're going to be a great worker, great person, or something like that, he said. If you look at skills of people, it is amazing how skilled people are in something, but it didn't show up in their resume. Likewise, Apple CEO Tim Cook has echoed that there's a mismatch between skills that are coming out of colleges and what skills that we believe we need in the future. Isn't that interesting? That's a very good point. Here's another big point. Another criticism I've had of a lot of programs, a lot of curriculum in education. I guess it would be curriculi. I've been working with schools for 14 years, so I got a understanding what's going on there. A big problem that they have is that the professors, a lot of the professors and teachers have never been in industry, right? And I've heard it from the horse's mouth. I have friends of mine who are professors. And they told me a lot of times the curriculum is based on what the teachers want to teach rather than what industry demands of the exponents. So you're doing a lot of stuff in university. If you're in university now and you wonder, why are we studying this? You're probably right. It's like a lot of times the teachers, they got tenure, they've been there for 20 years, 15 years, and they're like, that's all I'm teaching. I'm going to teach this, that's all I'm going to teach. And that's what they teach. Not that it helps you in any way. And they'll give you some BS excuse, oh, it's going to help train your mind. Like advanced math has something to do with modern day development. It does not. That's a myth. Advanced math has very little to do with actual development. Except maybe if you're, doing AI research or designing a game engine, which is like 0.00001% of the jobs out there. Most business app development, math is not important at all. And you becoming a math whiz is not going to have any impact positively or negatively in terms of you being a great coder. It's like saying, oh, gee, I want to bring in great fighters, MMA fighters, and the way we're going to screen them is we're going to see who can make the best muffins, who can cook the best muffins. The people who know how to cook a good muffin, they're going to be the great fighters. That's going to help them become great fighters if they can cook really good banana muffins with walnuts. You see, it's pretty obvious it's a silly thing to say, right? Like whether you can cook a banana-based muffin with walnuts has nothing to do with regards to you becoming a great MMA fighter. Same thing with math and being a great software developer. It's totally disjointed. Yeah, so you even have the CEO of Apple, biggest company in the world. Again, let me just point this out. Likewise, Apple's CEO Tim Cook has echoed that there is a mismatch between the skills that are coming out of colleges and what the skills are we believe we need in the future. Yeah, 100%. Again, because the colleges, they're there to sell courses. The teachers, a lot of times, want to teach what they want to teach because they want to teach. Sometimes it's because they don't care, because they make their money writing papers and so forth. And sometimes it's because they're disjointed from the actual market. I have several friends of mine who are engineers from very prominent schools up here in Canada, and they told me, all 3 or 4 of them, I know it's anecdotal, it's a small sample group, but nonetheless, they've all told me that what they learned in university had very little to do with what they actually did on their jobs. You learn on no job. Anyway, I'm not here to trash schools. Maybe a little bit. But again, if you're wondering if you need that degree to become a software developer, you're getting your answer here, right? The top people are saying no. Now, I've cited a study years ago where Apple, IBM, and others, they actually did a deep dive in their own workforce, and they found out something very interesting. What they found is that there was no difference in terms of the quality of the worker or the employee, whether or not they had a degree. They had no. So now we're seeing that this is becoming more and more accepted. When you have the leaders of the biggest companies in the tech space in the world, Google, Microsoft, IBM, Apple, and others, many others, they are eliminating their long-held degree requirements because they realize that that's all a bunch of BS. I've had actually several people tell me that they've gone through my training programs and they, 3-4 months, 5 months of training, part-time, and they've gotten jobs beating out people with computer science degrees. Why? Because since I've been doing this for 30 years, and since I understand the business end and the software end fairly well, I teach you what you need to know to get that job. I teach you what I would look for in potential employees. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Cisco's top executive in the UK, David Mead, dropped out of school at 16 years old. Like Zuckerberg, he told Fortune that attitude and aptitude are more important than whatever letters you have after your name or whatever qualifications you've got on a sheet. Attitude and aptitude. So let me just break that down. Attitude, that's good social skills, interpersonal skills, soft skills. That's why, again, in the mentoring program, I created a course. It's also publicly available. You don't have to do the mentoring program to get access to the course called Lizard Wizard, which teaches you about your lizard brain, which controls all your emotions. It controls your life, generally speaking. And if you can understand its rules, that operating system, how it perceives the world, you can really transform yourself as an individual. Basically, improving your attitude, making you the best possible version of yourself in terms of the psychology and everything else. It's amazing. People have told me they've lost 50, 60 pounds because of Lizard Wizard training. So aptitude, that's just your ability just to learn new things, being open-minded. One of the reasons I teach, what do I teach? I teach HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, Python, PHP, and SQL. So I teach 6 coding languages. 3 of them are programming languages. Why? Well, first of all, those languages in of themselves have a lot of value in the marketplace, whether you freelance or get a job or whatnot. But also, more importantly, actually, is to teach you concepts, to teach you techniques that are universal. So, for example, learning your first programming language is the hardest thing to learn in terms of languages. Then when you're going to learn the second programming language in a fraction of the time, because they're all very similar. And in fact, you start off with JavaScript, then you jump over to Python. By learning Python, interestingly enough, it's going to give you more insight into JavaScript. And then when you jump to PHP, you're going to learn, besides learning server-side software development, you're also going to learn a lot more about JavaScript and Python. It's interesting. By comparing and contrasting different programming languages, it gives you insight into programming in general. So in fact, after you get through your basics of your first programming language, the fundamentals rather, I should say, I would say if you want to get a deeper understanding of programming, don't go necessarily deeper in that language, maybe jump to another language, learn that, and it's going to give you all kinds of perspective. It's kind of like driving a sports car versus an SUV versus a pickup truck. By driving all these different types of vehicles and feeling it, and feeling how they handle and so forth, it's going to give you a much better understanding of what type of vehicles you like, which type of vehicle is best suited for a particular type of activity. So for example, if you're driving on a smooth highway, a sports car makes sense. Porsche 911, Lamborghini. But if you're going off-roading, you don't want the Porsche 911, right? You want an SUV. Anyway, so there you go. This article is originally from Fortune. I'll put a link to it. It's in Yahoo Finance. But bottom line is, I've been telling people this for many years now, that care less and less about the degrees in the software world, and is spreading out there. It's spreading outside of software for sure. And when you have the top CEOs, people, they collectively, they hire tens and tens of thousands of workers. That's where it's going. So if you're in school now, you're in year 2, and you're not going into massive debt, just finish it. But if you're thinking about going into computer science and you're going to have to go into debt, I would think about 5 times before I would do that. I've done this breakdown before. If, for example, in my program, working part-time, within 6 months to a year, you can find yourself starting to work. No, you're not going to be making $100,000 a year, a beginner, but you're going to start working. And then what will happen is within the first 4 years, year 2, 3, 4, your salary is going to go whoosh. So you're going to get out by the end of year 4, you're going to be making full salary, tons of experience. Meanwhile, the student in the 4-year degree comes out, and what do they have? Lots of debt. And you've made probably about $250,000, $300,000. They'll never catch up to you in terms of earnings if you save your money, invest, and so on. Because they're going to have no student loan debt. The people who just jumped into it. And they're going to have all this experience, which is worth much more than any degree, that's for sure. That's the way it's going. That's the way it is. And do what you will with this information. If you have any disagreements, let me know in the comments below. I'm Uncle Steph. And in full disclosure, I do provide mentorship. So I guess I am competing to a certain extent with the universities. And there you go. Not all university programs are bad. Not all university teachers are bad. There's some good ones for sure. But you have to just consider what it is you want to do. Consider the market. Look at the risk and the benefit with regards to whether you want, if you're going to go into debt or not. Are you self-disciplined? Can you learn on your own, or can you learn in a mentorship or a boot camp context where you do have guidance? But, even, by the way, if you haven't been to university, the teachers are not feeding you. They're not holding you by the hand and writing your papers for you. It's basically they say, do this, and go. And you can ask them a few questions every now and then, and then they mark your papers, and you get into a lot of debt, and you pay a lot of money, but you get to go drinking a lot.